You could be offering the best new products in the world, but if you don't have the effective branding, marketing, and promotional tools for your products and services, then you're probably not getting the best results you need to reach your target audience. Allow QTV Multimedia to translate a more efficient process and to bring clarity to your current or future businesses. Take advantage of our low cost and proven creative opportunities. Email us at qtvmultimedia@gmail.com. That's qtvmultimedia@gmail.com. Or just simply click and leave us a direct message. And don't forget to leave your full contact information and please share.
All right. Happy Thursday, family. Greetings, peace, blessing, healing, and abundance. Happy Thursday. Safe travels to wherever you're going to and fro. Real quick, you know how this goes. This is QTV, and welcome to the Green Room. QTV, where our motto is, pictures are worth 1,000 words, but the video tells it all. So real quick, we want to give a shout out to our partners and our sponsors, Project Keep Them Off the Streets, youth organization for all your mentorship and positive reinforcement. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and you can also Google them if you have youth from ages 10 to 18. Great service, community service, and program. Also, C's Lawn Hauling Service. C's Lawn and Hauling Services for cleanouts, lawn care, local pickup, and delivery. We also want to give a shout out to Dr. Harper over at Ministries of the Holy Spirit, MOHS. So you already know, shouts out to you, and I say you rock, and I'm not taking it back. What's up, guys and gals? But guess what? We have another special guest in the building. This is October the 21st. 6 p.m. is when we kick everything off. He's our special guest, dermatologist. He goes by the name of Dr. Clearskin, and we have him in the building. So we want to give you guys an opportunity to tune in. Shouts out to everybody in our chat, Facebook Live, YouTube. Hello there. Dr. Clearskin, Dr. Jeffery Scales is in the building. Show some support, put your likes and claps and all the emojis in the comment section. If you have any questions, you can always type them in. You can join us on live, however you want to do that. So Mr. Dr. Scales, how are you, sir?
Very good. Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you for stopping by the Green Room. Awesome to have you. Starting off, how's your day going?
My day's going great. Any day I get to practice my career, working, trying to help people is a good day for me.
Right. Good to see you. Once again, shouts out to everybody in the chat. Mr. Scales, Dr. Scales, he hails from, tell them where you hail from, North Carolina.
Yes, sir. I was born at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but I was raised in the Washington, D.C. area. So, D.C.
Awesome. So, getting started, just tell us about yourself. Give us a brief synopsis of where you come from and your schooling and your upbringing.
Sure. So I was born, as I said, in Fort Bragg, and I was raised in the Washington, D.C. area. I grew up in suburban Washington, D.C., the Silver Spring, Chevy Chase area, and was very fortunate to have two really good parents. The father that was formerly a military man and a mother who worked at Howard University in D.C. at the hospital. So I got exposed to medicine at a very young age. One of my best friend's father was the first Black pediatric surgeon that they've ever had. In fact, he's going to end up being in the African American History Museum. But, you know, I get a chance to hang out with him, hear about what it was like to be a doctor, and to get some inspiration. So at a very young age, I knew I was interested in medicine. My mother used to hold the doctors in such great esteem. And the people I knew, I just thought it was a great career, and it's a chance to help a lot of people. So I left that area, graduated from high school, and I went to Morehouse College in Atlanta. Many years ago, I graduated in 1983, and it was one of the best experiences I ever had in my life. And I cannot overstate how great it was to go to an HBCU. And it was a great time. A lot was going on. We would see prominent people there from Atlanta on the campus. It was very inspiring. And I really took seriously the charge they gave us to go out and make a difference for our community. I'm fortunate enough, I'm fortunate enough to be old enough to remember literally when Martin Luther King was still alive and Malcolm X and some of those people. And, it really inspired me to try to do things to help our community. So I graduated from Morehouse College. I was very fortunate I got into an Ivy League medical school. And coming from Atlanta and going to in DC and going to the Ivy League was really quite an experience. It was a real culture shock in many ways. But I was very fortunate to have that opportunity. And I went to the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine in Philadelphia. It was back in the day when they won their last championship in basketball, back when Dr. J and a bunch of other people were still playing. It's my favorite basketball player. So those were some good times back then. But I finished the University of Pennsylvania School of Medicine and traveled to Chicago, where I worked on the south side of Chicago, training as a doctor that took care of children. I was a pediatrician for a number of years. And I really enjoyed that. Again, trying to work in communities that seem to need some medical services that seem to be underserved. I finished there and came to Cincinnati, Ohio, and then I decided I wanted to be a skin doctor. I wanted to be a dermatologist. And I traveled to North Carolina, trained here, and I've had a private practice here for about 25 years now. So that's my academic journey.
Okay, awesome. So I'm here in Morehouse in Pennsylvania, pediatric residency. So on your academic journey, and I know we're gonna have like youth and things that will be watching this segment. Kind of tell us a little bit about mindset going through those different universities, and what did it take? What did you have to complete that journey? Because a lot of people, they go to college for to study certain things, and they don't always follow through. What are some of the pointers you can tell us to keep us on that path of what we initially went for?
I think it's a really good question, because I remember when I decided to become a physician, my mother said to me, one of the wisest things she says, you have to remember that this is a marathon, it's not a sprint. And you have to be prepared to be in the game a long time. And so going into college, all of us have great aspirations about what it is that we want to do. And one of the things I think I was quick to recognize is that I had to take the long view. I'll give you a perfect example. I finished college in 1983. I go off to medical school, and I'm borrowing a lot of money to go to medical school, and I'm paying for my services. And meanwhile, a lot of the people I graduated with are out getting married and getting cars and vacations, partying, having a great time. And I'm stuck in my apartment studying and getting ready. And, what I had to do was I had to understand that the goals that I wanted to have were going to be things that were going to be realized a bit later than the average person. So being in college, I decided I wanted to really focus my time on making sure my grades were good. That's not to say I didn't hang out. It's crazy, because this is a crazy story, that I was a member of the DC Metro Club, which was a interest group. It was a club that represented people that were from DC. And this is going to sound crazy, but we started the first Freaknik in Atlanta. And so there were plenty of times to hang out and have fun. But always what was in the front of my mind is that I had to do well academically. I can remember there were times when people would go home for spring break, and I might stay and make sure I had gotten my academic work done. I would take time to study extra. I'd go to the tutorial sessions. In the summers, I would get jobs that were related to, or programs that were related to what I did. And so my goal was always thinking, this is a marathon, I've got to prep myself as best I can. Another thing that really motivated me was the idea that as African Americans, our opportunities have been limited for so long that I felt that the moment that an opportunity opened up, I want to be sure that I took advantage of it. So I was always seeking out extra things to do. I spent some time in Cincinnati, Ohio, working in a lab. I spent a number of summers working at the National Institutes of Health. We talk about Dr. Fauci and those people. I remember seeing Dr. Fauci when I was like 20 years old when he was a much younger man. His hair was all black at that time. But I got a chance to work in the lab. I worked in the lab that discovered the AIDS virus because these opportunities came up, and I got a chance to get exposed to a lot of things. And I would try to grab them and take them and do the best I could with them, knowing that, you know, I have a grandparent that I was very close with, and she never got beyond the 7th grade in education. And she took great pride in watching the changes that came in the family. I remember when I got into medical school, I applied to 11 medical schools, I got into 10. And there I would get acceptance letters, and she would take those acceptance letters and she would go door to door in her neighborhood and show them to her neighbors and say, look how proud I am of my grandson. And I always felt there was a certain responsibility I had, having been given so much. You know, I wasn't raised in a wealthy family, a solidly middle-class family, very fortunate, 2 great parents, but it wasn't with a silver spoon in my mouth. And people, I felt like I wanted to make my parents proud. I wanted to make our community proud. I wanted to go out and venture out into these areas that a lot of people would not get an opportunity to do. When we went to medical school, back in the day I did, we were the first HBCU graduates. My roommate and I, and 2 other girls from Howard, were the first HBCU graduates ever to attend that medical school.
Wow.
And, you know, it's funny because sometimes people's attitudes were not necessarily welcoming. Surprise, they're not happy always that you're going to be there, but you fight through. You know, there's sometimes it was going, you know, really slowly, or it was difficult, but always I had in my mind that my grandparents would have done anything for an opportunity like this. My great-grandparents would have done anything. I'm 3 generations from sharecropping, literally 3 generations from sharecropping.
Wow.
So, you know, I was going to make sure that when that door opened, I'm running through that door. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that I embrace the opportunities that are there.
Right. Message to our listeners, message.
Absolutely. My father used to say, we would talk sometimes about how different it was to be an African-American man versus, say, being Caucasian. And one of the things, I pointed out a statistic to him one time, it said that the Black man makes about 85 cents for every dollar that a white man makes. And he said to me, that is something to keep in mind. He says, just make sure you make your 85 cents though. Meaning you make sure you do the part that you have to take care of. And I always embraced that with the idea that whatever came through, I was going to take it and I was going to go with it. And I was very, very fortunate. I've had the opportunity at a time in our history where doors were opening, we were able to go through. So I was able to go off and spend time after my medical school and have 2 residencies. But basically, if you want to talk about how long all this takes, there's high school, there's 4 years of college, then there's 4 years of medical school, at which time you'll probably incur some kind of debt. But no matter, the amount of money that you'll make in the future will easily pay off your student loans.
Okay, so pause for a second. I want you to say that again for the listeners.
Yes. You know, I tell people this all the time. If you think about what people are afraid of student loans, and there's not a better use of your money that you're going to spend for your education, as long as you choose something that you know you can be employed in. If I'm going to get a philosophy degree and be unemployed and sit out and look at the fields, then that's probably not a good use of my student loan money. But I'll give you a statistic I read. You know, on average, I think the average person probably gets out of college owing maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000. That's a lot of money. But in your lifetime, you'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars, literally millions of dollars, depending on the kind of career you have. And if someone were to tell me, give me $50,000 and I'll pay you out millions over the course of hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars of a lifetime, I'd take that bet any day. It never dawned upon me I wasn't going to succeed in the undertaking. Now, there were some hard times along the way and some moments where I faltered a little bit, but it never dawned upon me that I wasn't going to succeed. So that investment, a student loan investment to me, as long as I was taking what I was doing seriously, is a great investment. And so, you know, the other thing I point out is, look, people complain about $30,000 or $40,000 in student loans, but they'll go out and buy a car for $70,000 or $50,000. Pay that off over 4 years.
Right.
You know, pay that off over 4, 5, 6 years. And someone says you got to pay $50,000 back over 20 years. You know, to me, that's easy math to think
Yeah.
about.
When you talk about assets and liabilities, huh?
Yeah, I mean, that money that I spent for student loans for my medical school career was, I mean, it's paid me back many, many, many times. And that's just in terms of the finances. I've had an opportunity to see things and to help people and to travel and to do things that bit of money that I paid back. I think when I left, I probably owed about $85,000 from medical school. And it seemed like a lot of money.
Right.
I mean, that's nothing compared to what I've gotten back, both from a tangible standpoint, like money, and from an intangible standpoint.
Right. Dr. Skill, let's take a second to give people the shout outs on our YouTube and our Facebook listeners and watchers in the building, in the green room, visiting us. And I'm quite sure it won't be the last time. Dr. Jeffery Scales, he's a dermatologist. So matter of fact, let's jump right into that. Tell us, what is dermatology?
So dermatology is the study of the skin. And it is the biggest organ in the body, the skin. And one of the reasons I went into dermatology is that generally everybody can tell what the problem is. You can look and see something's not right. When you think about something like cardiology, where you talk about the heart, or pulmonology, where you talk about the lungs, you have to imagine what that looks like. You have to send somebody for a test, and maybe they will have an x-ray and you can look at it that way. But I see what the problem is, and the patient sees what the problem is. Everyone sees what the problem is the moment I walk into the room, and I enjoy that. It's a great puzzle. And so we spend time asking questions, taking samples, and trying to determine a plan that can help the patient. Sometimes that means we can make things disappear and go away completely. Sometimes we cure things. Most of the time, it means that we can manage things and make things better for people. But it's the focus on the study and the treatment of skin.
So, in what areas on the body does dermatology affect or cover?
It's a good point. So it's all this skin that you can see. Now, once you get to the point where you're talking about, internal things, beyond the mouth and deeper, you are probably talking about a different doctor. But literally head to toe, we talk about nails. Spend a lot of time talking about hair, things in the private area, hands, feet. There's no area that we leave uncovered.
Mm-hmm. So is it safe to say about the take care of the inside and the outside look well?
Yes, I think that's a fair point.
Okay.
You need to eat well, and you need to take care of yourself. You need to exercise. You get out, get some sun, get outside some. People spend so much time indoors nowadays.
Right.
Yes, take care of both those things, and they will pay you back.
So is there anything for dietary that would keep our skin looking healthy, shiny, elastic? What are some of the things that we can do to keep our outer shell looking superb?
Yeah, I like to focus on things that people can do to help enhance. It'll help both your skin and help other things. So a great example is, I think diet is a really important aspect. Oftentimes people want to eat a lot of things. We're sort of raised with a certain diet, and that's a great thing. But you can't underestimate vegetables and things that include antioxidants and vitamins. I like leafy green vegetables. I think people should buy and eat. The way that is recommended right now, it's 2/3 of the plate is for vegetables and 1/3 is for meat. And I think that's absolutely true. You need to focus on fruits and vegetables and add those things to the diet. Try to stay away from things like, there are some basic habits, of course, we try to avoid. So for instance, your skin doesn't heal as well if you're a smoker. If you have surgery on your skin, if you're a smoker, it's going to take a lot longer and it may not heal as well. So certain things that you put into your body that are not good for you also have an impact on you. Avoiding drug use, trying to not eat too many unhealthy foods. You don't want to hurt your heart, which affects your skin. There's a diagnosis that we have in dermatology where people's skin is bad because their heart doesn't work as well. So in the lower part of the legs, and the fluid doesn't leave the body like it's supposed to from the lower part because the heart doesn't work as well and the veins don't work as well. So you can see it manifested in the skin. Okay. So those types of things are important. Take care of yourself, eat well, get some sleep. Those types of things are things that you can take care of. And that affects not just your skin, but many other things, many other things.
So can you is there anything on the skin that happens that can tell you what's going on in the inside, or is it just totally vice versa?
No, you're absolutely right. There are a number of things that we find at times that are pointing to the fact that there's something going on inside. I'll give you a good example. I had a lady come see me who had a spot on her skin, and it looked very innocent. And I took it off because she was concerned about it. And we sent it off to the lab and let it get checked. It turned out that she had, and this happened on a couple of occasions, the person had cancer. One person had breast cancer. Another person had some very unusual cancer that you would just never find, that no one had been looking for at the time, but you saw that on the skin first. There are times at which the way the blood flows at certain parts of the skin, particularly around the hands at times, the feet, where if the blood flow is bad, you realize that there are some heart problems the person might have, or they may have some autoimmune diseases like lupus and other things. And so sometimes that's just the beginning. The skin can show you it's a window into other areas. There's entire textbooks written about skin findings that point to internal problems. And so it's a very big field. And yes, we've seen those things over the years.
Right. Hey, you guys joining us in the green room, QTV Multimedia. We have with us Dr. Jeffery Scales, dermatologist. Mr. Dr. Scales, where did you get the name Dr. Clearskin? Tell us how that came about.
Well, I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of really fun and exciting, interesting people. But there's a young lady that was working with me who I used to call her my work daughter. She reminded me of my daughter. And my daughter is 20 years old. And she just one day came up with this. She says, "You're Dr. Clearskin. You're Dr. Clearskin." And they went and bought a coat and made it. It said Dr. Scales, also known as Dr. Clearskin. And I thought, that's a really nice name. I kind of like that. So then I told her recently that I was going to create a product line, and I was going to use the name Dr. Clearskin because I thought it really sort of explained what it was that the purpose of the product line was for. So I can thank one of the ladies that work with me, and they take really good care of me. They treat me like the grandfather or somebody or father, and I'm very fortunate. But it was just all out of just a joke at first, but I've really been very happy with that.
Teamwork makes the dream work, huh?
That's exactly it. That's
right,
it.
Right. So let's move forward. Like right now, 2021, we're coming to a close. A few more weeks left, and this pandemic, and everybody's concerned about wearing the mask. So with the mask every day, all day, can you expound on what people can do? Discoloration, excessive moisture. Expound on what people can do, and is there something to fear or what?
Sure. So that's a good question because that has come up quite a bit in the office. One of the things that has happened as a result of wearing these masks is that people develop this type of acne that they didn't have before, or if they had it, it sure wasn't much. But the person will pull the mask back and you can look and see that there's acne that's appearing in areas where the mask covers. And what's probably happening is that the mechanical rubbing of the mask and oil is building up, maybe dirt and other things under the mask after wearing it for so many hours has led to this causing some acne difficulties. The other thing, like you said, is that you have this warm breath that's normally going out of your mouth and is resting on your skin now. And it's important that people wear masks. It's absolutely important. I am such a big proponent. Make sure you do these things to stay healthy and stay alive.
Yes, sir.
So what I tell people, though, is that you may need to use a good moisturizer that you put under the mask, more than you might typically do. So you can get some of these moisturizers that are heavier. They tend to be more like Vaseline, thicker creams, and you can put on your face under your mask. And what will happen is as the breath escapes, and maybe it stays there a little longer, it lands on top of the moisturizer, but doesn't touch the skin directly. And so some of that stuff is really thick, and it's not always the most comfortable thing to wear. But I think many times that would be a nice thing to do, particularly as the weather is starting to get cooler. With the lower humidity and lower temperatures, your skin's already going to be a little irritated. Using something like that would be a nice thing to consider.
Awesome. Hope you guys are taking notes. Once again, Dr. Jeffery Scales is in the building, aka BKA Dr. Clearskin. Now, moving on up, like the Jeffersons, and as we know, you have your own private practice. So give us that name and tell us, more about your practice and, your availabilities and what do you do?
Sure. I have a practice in Durham, North Carolina, home of the Duke Blue Devils, and right down the street from UNC, University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. And I started the practice about 25 years ago. One of the reasons I started it was that I felt there needed to be a place that was going to take care of certain needs that oftentimes are undermet. So an example is that if you were to look at people of color and the doctors that they visit, no doctor is visited less than dermatologists for people of color. Part of that has to do where the dermatologists are. Part of it has to do with access issues. And I felt like there was a need to make sure there was a place that was welcoming to people of all backgrounds. The other thing the reason I started practice was because of children. Children oftentimes are neglected when it comes to skin-related issues. Many of them are, particularly in the larger cities, are on public assistance and Medicaid and need access to doctors in a way that it's hard to get. Many dermatologists will not take Medicaid. They don't see a lot of children. And I felt like those were things that I wanted to be sure that I highlighted when I opened my practice. So the practice is very welcoming. We have one of the most diverse groups of people that come through here. We have people with Hispanic background. I have a lady from Cuba that works with me named Anai Castro. She's wonderful. I've got if you were to look at our people that we have employed, we have a diverse group of people, the most diverse group that you'll see in probably any dermatology practice you go. My goal, again, was to give people opportunities in places that maybe they won't traditionally get. But we take care of medical dermatology and we take care of cosmetic dermatology. We are expanding our services. We see people 8 to 5. We're a very busy practice and very welcoming and very encouraging. If you walk through my office, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. Someone said to me, I came to the doctor and I noticed your artwork. So throughout my office, I have artwork that highlights a diverse group of people. I have people as famous as, say, Matisse and George O'Keeffe. And I've got paintings by local Black artists and some people even from Atlanta that I have scattered all throughout the office. And people say, I've never been in a doctor's office where I saw myself reflected equally as well as I did in other places. It's just such a warm and inviting environment. I saw that someone just said that to me last week, and it really struck me. I put this stuff up because I like it. I think it's attractive, and also because I'm reflecting back society in general. Durham, North Carolina is a very well-known city, and it's a very diverse city, and doing extremely well. And we have a strong population of people of color, and I want them represented on the walls as well as throughout the practice.
Thank you.
So, yeah, and so we've done really well in that regard, and I think been very happy with that. But yeah, we take care of medical problems, people that itch, people who have cancer, things like that. We take care of people who want to look younger, want their skin to look a little more even, and all things in between. Take care of children with some of the problems that children have. There are some very special problems that come up as a result of children having skin problems. So we try to be as welcoming to everyone as we can be.
Okay, real quick question in the comment section on Facebook. Latonya Kelly, how you doing, sis? Good to see you. Thank you. The question is, eczema is an issue in our community. Any suggestions on how to treat it?
So I'll talk a little bit about eczema. Eczema is a very common disease. It is what we call it, the itch that rashes. People are very itchy, they scratch, they damage their skin, they can thicken their skin, it can become quite debilitating. I've seen people that I had a child in the office just about 3 weeks ago that was so bad, it covered so much of their body, they literally walked like an old person. This is a 5-year-old child that walked as slow as someone that's 90 years old and whose skin is really damaged. And so eczema is that particular condition, and it's particularly common in children and particularly common in people of color. We see a lot of people of color that have eczema. It's probably the most common skin disease I see in people of color. And so it's National Eczema Month. And so we've been highlighting some of the things there. Most of the time, we start off by recommending that people use good moisturizers, good over-the-counter moisturizers. We carry a host of things that we have here in the office. And there are things that you can buy in the drugstore like Cetaphil and CeraVe but I particularly like the things that we carry. So you moisturize your skin every day. Part of the problem is that you don't hold on to moisture very well, and also that there are some things in the immune system that are a little different that make people have more problems with their skin. Secondly, there are times at which moisturizers alone won't do it, and you'll need to have some prescription medication. So we then consider treating people with all sorts of topical medications that are prescription. There's topical steroids, there's non-steroids, and these are things that you apply to help with the itch and the inflammation. And then beyond that, we've got a lot of options for people where the creams aren't good enough. There are pills to take, there are new shots that are out there. There are many people who are out in the world that just have given up hope that they can be treated. And we have some very new things, some very safe things that people can come into the office and get treated with, and it can give them relief. Sometimes it's so debilitating. I've met children that are so debilitated with this that they cannot go to school. They have to be taught at home, like someone that has cancer or something like this, because they cannot move their skin. But the majority of people are mild to moderate, and they would do well by seeing a dermatologist and having some treatment for that.
So two things. Does it come from the gut health? And number two, I would say or ask, does it come from the disease like you named and the prolong of not giving it the proper attention that it needs, like it just got worse?
So it's a great question. We know that certainly there's some association with genetics. You'll find people in families that seem to have a lot of eczema. Eczema can show up, in the skin. Then we have other diseases that are sort of like eczema that we call cousins of eczema, like asthma and allergy and hay fever. So all that is one big group of diseases that can manifest itself. And some people will have various combinations of one or the other. We know that you start off with maybe a tendency towards it, and then something from the outside sort of sets it off. We haven't been able to figure it out quite what it is, but it's interesting because eczema is a condition of the first world. If you go to third world nations, you don't see a lot of eczema. They have plenty of other diseases, things that they can't manage as a result of the societies they live in. But eczema is a problem of the first world. And some of the argument has been that we've gotten so good at being so clean, washing so much, washing away some of the natural things found in the environment, that our immune systems have not, they're sort of going haywire. They are not as comfortable with this sort of new clean type of way of living compared to, say, 100 years ago. So, but the incidence of eczema.
Is that a message for our OCD people?
Yes. I mean, I think it's important to be clean. I am in no way saying don't be clean, don't wash yourself. In fact, I'd probably speak more to that about people washing more, but it does seem that the excessive cleanliness we have in the first world seems to be contributing factors. The incidence of eczema, how many people have eczema in the population, has gone up a lot. We've lost certain diseases have gone away. When I was growing up, everybody got chickenpox and measles. Now you don't see that anymore, but you do see more diseases like eczema and food allergies as the years have gone on.
Right. So now we see that there's a new brand on the market. Tell us about this NCCD products that you have.
Well, thanks for mentioning. I'm going to just highlight a couple things. We carry couple lines of products in our office that we highlight. So for instance, this is the NCCD line. It's a line that's dedicated towards problem skin and also pampering skin. So this is one of the astringents we use as a herbal blend. It's very nice. And we have some other things. This particular lotion is one of our best sellers. It's made with a shea butter and has some algae in it and some Japanese green tea. It's extremely well liked. It has a great smell to it. And that's our NCCD line of products. But I just recently came up with a different line that's focused more on problems. I'll introduce that particular one. As I mentioned previously, Dr. Clearskin, this is the Dr. Clearskin line. And we have a number of products that are dedicated towards helping with problematic skin. So for instance, one of the big things that I talk to patients of color about, particularly adult men, is shaving difficulties. Now, we sort of think of it as a disease, and we find a lot of men of color have difficulty with shaving. These products were designed in a way to try to keep those problems to a minimum. The problem with shaving is that when you cut the skin close, you end up creating hairs that can be very sharp and a little odd, and they can spin back in the skin, and they can make all these shaving bumps that people get. And that can be very difficult for some people. I've seen people with terrible scars and all sorts of discoloration on their face. That's the result of shaving over the various years. And so the Dr. Clearskin line is something that we've developed to try to help keep that to a minimum. It's not possible to make it so you won't have any problems, but using these products and some of the things that we put together, I believe that we're going to be able to give people better results than what they've had with some of the typical ways that they've shaved over the years. So those are the two product lines that we've been focusing on here in our office.
Awesome, awesome. So now with both of those lines, or Dr. Clearskin, for those individuals that are not in your immediate area, are you open for a consultation? How can they find the product and where to find it at, Doctor?
Sure, they're available online. We have the North Carolina Center for Dermatology, nccd.com, and that dispenses our NCCD products. And then there's a new website we have called Get Dr. Clearskin, and our products are listed there. And you'll see that you have an opportunity to purchase them and to use them in a way to try to enhance shaving. And we'll be adding new things as the months go on, focusing on other problems. You know, shaving's one way of having difficulty with hair removal. There's other ways. There's waxing. There's people use the magic shave stuff, that stuff that you put on that friends have that smell so bad. If you're going to use that, there are some products we can use to try to help keep that from causing trouble, because sometimes people will burn their skin from that. So we have some things coming down the road.
Okay. So how do they contact you, for those that are watching and might want, like I said, consultation, have some questions, or maybe just in visiting your area? How to find you, with address, and all that good stuff?
Sure. So we're in Durham, North Carolina, and we are available for people to talk to us. We have a website, nccdermatology.com. If they'd like to be able to reach us, there's a section there for emails. You can pay more attention to, say, Get Dr. Clearskin. That's available online as well. So we have some things that we sell there. We have some patient information there, things that highlight some of the problem that we discussed. And they can reach me that way. Our phone number here, though, if anyone wanted to use the phone, people don't use the phone as much anymore. We're available on Facebook as well. I mentioned the phone number is 919-484-9551. We have a Facebook page. We have an Instagram page, and a Twitter account. You can look up Dr. Scales. There's the North Carolina Center for Dermatology. We can be reached all those ways. Those are great ways for people to reach us.
Awesome.
And so we're available.
Right. So Dr. Clearskin, give the people a positive message. And before you get out of here, tell them one or two things that they need to be doing right now with the seasons changing. And just give them a few things to that they can take notes. And I know I'm quite sure what you give them, it will work when applied. So give the people something.
Sure. So this is the time of year when the weather starts to get cooler and the humidity drops. I occasionally will post some videos talking about some skin issues related to this time of year. So one of the biggest things I think about is the importance of making sure you drink plenty of water. You need to keep yourself hydrated. The weather's not as humid as it was, so the air has less moisture in it. And so you want to drink a good amount of water. The second thing you want to focus on is making sure that you moisturize yourself well, particularly men, because many men are not raised with the idea of putting lotion on your skin. There are times when you're growing up, your mother put some Vaseline on you and you thought that was, uncomfortable. You really didn't like that. But we have some great moisturizing products that help keep the skin from being so dry. When the skin is dry, it can become itchy. It becomes itchy, you scratch, and you can end up with all sorts of marks on your skin and things like that. So I really focus on some great things that we carry in our product lines. Again, you can go to the drugstore and find some things like Cetaphil and CeraVe and Aveeno. Those are nice products. Things that don't have a lot of fragrance in them, things that don't have a lot of ingredients. And they have things that will go on and really moisturize your skin well and help to keep you from being so dry and scaly. And as you age, you find that your skin will become drier as time goes on. And then I encourage people to get out and get some sun.
Get some sun.
Yeah, sun is good. It helps increase your
vitamin D.
Vitamin D. You need vitamin D. It's good for your bones. And a lot of people of color suffer from vitamin D deficiency. And so the cheapest and easiest way is to get out and get some sun. It's good for your skin. It's good for your vitamin D. I'm not saying lay out there and burn yourself up like people do at the beach without sunscreen. If you're going to be out there long periods of time, make sure you use a sunscreen that's heavier and thick, and use a daily sunscreen for your face, a light moisturizer with a sunscreen that you can buy from either us or from over the counter. So those types of things are the tips I would say for the moment.
Awesome. I was laughing to myself about the fellas about the lotion situation, because it seemed like we're so concerned about our beard that we are forgetting the skin. The follicles that's coming through the skin. So that was kind of funny. Yeah, the vitamin D. So about water, if you could. What is a great amount of water, for individual to drink daily? And how much sun? 30 minutes, a gallon of water a day? I've been reading different articles that's been saying different things. So what would be your intake on that?
So you're right. There are no real scientific studies to say what the adequate amount of water is for everybody every day. You think, I'm a pretty thin person. There's a certain amount I might need, but that's different for someone who's much bigger. I have a friend of mine who's really a big guy, and he might need a bit more. It varies depending on the time of year too. You think you're going to need a lot more during the warm weather months, and how much you sweat. If I'm at the beach, I'm going to need a certain amount of water. If I'm here doing other things, then I might need less. So I think there's a reason we have thirst. Thirst is to remind us that we need to drink. And so the body sends messages about making sure that, hey, I need something. You're thirsty because the body's saying we need more water. But, I would say if you can get a good, 24 to 50 ounces a day of water, that would be great.
Cool. Mm-hmm. Well, Dr. Scales, thank you for coming through the green room. We enjoyed having you. I hope it's not the last time that we get to talk to you and see you and your products. Give the people your information one more time before we get out of here. Your phone number, your address, and your website. Give it all to them.
Sure. The website is nccdermatology.com. We're on Facebook, North Carolina Center for Dermatology. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. I post videos weekly on Instagram talking about important skin tips. We're available by phone, the old-fashioned way, 919-697-7913. And our address, if you happen to be in Durham, North Carolina, you want to swing by and see us, is 6216 Fayetteville Road, Suite 102, Durham, North Carolina. And we look forward to talking with anyone that's interested.
Oh man, that's great. Dr. Scales, you want to give the people anything before you get out of here?
Sure. One of the things I will just say just in closing is that, I've been very fortunate to have an opportunity to have the career that I have. There are a lot of people of color, I think of us, who really struggled over the years in terms of, getting into society and do things. And I encourage people, young people particularly, grab your opportunities, do the best you can. Aim high. There's nothing wrong with aiming high. Reach for your dreams. All of us are not going to be basketball players. All of us are not going to be rappers. Look, I grew up, I wanted to play in the NBA. I wanted to be the next Dr. J. But there's nothing about me that would get me to that particular point. But I realized that I can do the things there are other things I like and I can do, and I can make a contribution to society. I can make a contribution to our people doing something else. And it's a great pleasure to have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Right, and I want to commend you on the fact with the paintings and things of that nature, because we tell the youth as well, if you see it and believe it, you can achieve it.
Yes.
Hey, this is QTV, the Green Room. Happy Thursday, everybody. Thank you for joining in. Facebook Live, YouTube. We're gonna put this up and do some editing, and we're gonna get back with you guys. Dr. Scales, when the next time you think we'll see you, sir?
I'm available whenever you like to talk again. I enjoy talking with people, and you're a nice person to talk to, and we can talk about all sorts of things. And so you let me know when you're available and we'll get back together.
Oh, that sounds great. Hey, you guys, thank you for tuning in. This is QTV. We're signing out like we always do. Take care of yourself and each other. You know how to do it. Peace and love, everybody. Dr. Scales, thank you for coming to the Green Room. Yo, Kelly Factor, we see you. Till the next time, you guys.
It's about to go.
QTV, multimedia. Post people all of the time, do the flight design.
The QTV, QTV Multimedia.
Check out QTV TV coming up. You're tuned in to QTV.
Watching QTV. I'm glad you see you.
God bless.
So man, so checking in with QTV Multimedia. Yes, sir.
So, this is QTV, you heard? Yeah, all the way live in the ATL. All right.
QTV show.
I'm not a son, but I'm helping them shine with inquiring minds. TV, multimedia. Let us have a visit to your brand. We can come up with a plan. Show you how they expand. QRP is the man. In order to advance, you gotta take a chance. TV, multimedia.
Hey man, this is what Magic Big Homie 2 Charlie. Man, reporting live right here in Boom Studio, man. I got QTV Multimedia.
What we gonna do right here is go back. Way back.
Y'all stay safe. Dr. Scales, see you next time, sir.
Thank you, sir. I enjoyed it. Thanks for talking.
Peace and love.
All right, you too. Thank you.